everybody. So welcome to the first of the online workshops from Matchmaker. This session is called Digging Ditches. As you all know, I've met with most of you now since becoming head of Matchmaker, and part of the part of the plan is that obviously you all want new business leads. I get that. That kind of goes without saying, but in addition to being able to provide you with new business leads, I'm wanting to also provide you with new biz trends, new biz insights, anything and everything that can kind of help your agency grow your new biz. So that's sort of really the additional value added of being a CMS matchmaker agency. So very excited to introduce you to Keith Smith. Keith, I've known Keith now for over 10 years. He is the MD and founder of the new business platform, The Advertist. And he also has a fabulous podcast called the Fuel Podcast, whereby he's speaking to some incredibly enigmatic, charismatic comms industry leaders. Keith, I'm going to let him do his stuff, but just all of you be aware, it's 4:30, he's based in the States, it's 4:30 in the morning where he is. Doesn't he look fabulous? But also what I love about Keith is not just his experience, but and his expertise, expert knowledge, but his energy and his passion and his enthusiasm is just amazing. So over to Keith for the first session, Digging Ditches.
Right, well, welcome everyone. It's lovely to see you all. See all your blank screens. As Debbie said, we were hoping that everybody would have some video, but it's nice to know that you're all here. Thank you for making the time. And obviously, there's a lot of people here that are familiar faces to me or familiar names to me, and some that aren't. But obviously, I hope we get to meet soon anyway. But so let's just start with a slide. How about that? This chap here is Arthur Motley, and he famously said, "Nothing happens until somebody sells something." Reb Motley, as he was known to all his friends, he was widely respected as one of the world's greatest salesmen of the 20th century. And what made him remarkable was that he understood that advertising and marketing were major driving forces in the modern economy. And I know what you're thinking. You're all thinking, yeah, we know that. We all know that. But importantly, we also nearly always lose sight of it. We forget the basics. So we're here today because we're all hopefully interested in the basics of agency growth. Growth, sales, new business, call it whatever you want. It's just all about the growth. So today, I'm going to give you 6 basic, easy to remember ways that you can build a simple new business strategy and business development plan for your agency. And because you're all experts in your own right, I'm not going to try and tell you how to sell. So what this is about developing some simple approaches and ideas that you can adapt for your business. And I'm going to attempt to do it in just 10 slides, and you've already had one of them. So here's number 2. Number 2. According to a report published just last month, over half of SME businesses don't have a viable sales or marketing plan. And the Marketing Centre recently surveyed 2,000 SMEs to understand what companies are going to do to grow their business in 2024. And the majority of respondents said that their business currently has no way of setting out how they're going to achieve their business goals. And over half said they've got no documented business plans. So it's a common problem. It's not all that surprising, I suppose, because we're all kind of wrapped up in the now, and we very rarely lift up our heads to look forward, and we're too busy working in the business and not on the business. And I'm sure that all sounds familiar because I hear it often. And what I do is I try and help people look into the future a little bit to turn potential into reality and to believe. Now, before this workshop, Debbie asked you to provide the answers to a question that if you had time email us with your responses. And that question was, what effect would winning more new business have on your agency in the short and long term? And in a few minutes, we're going to go over some of the answers, because we'll see that new business can mean so many different things to different people all the time. So what gives me the right to talk about this subject? I've been an agency growth consultant for the last 30 years. I began my career in Fleet Street as part of the PR Week team pre-Haymarket in the 1980s. And as Debbie said, and some of you will know, that I host the agency new business podcast Fuel, which is now in its 4th year. And through 160 plus episodes, we've spoken to hundreds of agency owners, new business experts, growth advisors, new business gurus, and we've been gathering their advice on how they ensure consistent growth for their agencies and their companies. So what are you going to get from this? We're going to explore 6 techniques for making sure that your agency's got a simple yet effective new business strategy. Because these days, when it comes to PR, marketing, digital, or advertising, it's just not enough to be creative. We're going to explore techniques from people who I regard as innovators in agency leadership, who manage to balance creativity and business. And I'll be quoting from some facts, actual research, not just my opinion. So, and at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you all the workshop. I'm going to give you all the links to all the sources that I use, so you can follow them up for yourself. But first of all, here's some actual science. You're probably all familiar with the IPA's Bellwether report. It's one of the most comprehensive and reliable regular surveys of people in charge of marketing budgets. And I recently interviewed Paul Bainsfair, the Director General of the IPA, and we discussed the IPA's forecast for marketing budgets for 2024. Now, overall, we're going to see a drop in advertising spend for the year. But the good news is we're also going to see a rise in overall marketing budgets, indicating a shift in spend from paid media to earned media. But those pounds are going to be squeezed for maximum value, which is great for PR, because it means that because you're some of the best, you should be doubling down on your new business activity, because more and more companies and brands are going to be shifting their marketing budgets around. Now, for many small business owners, the concept of selling feels deeply uncomfortable. So often people just don't bother. And, you know, what actually happens is the business struggles along and it fails sometimes because not enough people know how great the product is. Now, there are 2 main sources of new business. You have referrals and recommendations from existing clients and contacts, which is business development. And then there are clients and contacts that you haven't met yet. And in the trade, we like to call those cold leads. So business development and new business. There's a balance you need to strike between those 2 things. Too much referral work, and you've got little control over your company's direction, growth, and team building. Too much new business prospecting, and you're always chasing rainbows and not keeping the lights on. So this workshop's going to help you address both sides of that growth coin. And it's important to remember that you're in the creative communications business. It's supposed to be fun and creative, and it's part business and part entertainment. And if you can entertain your audience, you're going to be memorable. And even in the sober world of business to business, it's important to remember that creativity and entertainment underpin a lot of the success of the agency world. But like that new business coin we just looked at, too much creativity and you neglect the business, too much business and you prevent the creativity from shining through. These days, CMOs and the C-suite are incredibly risk averse. And I'm sure you already have heard some horror stories. They need to know that their PR advertising and digital marketing is in safe hands, which means that as well as being in control of the creative aspect of the agency, you need to be in control of the numbers. Prospects need to know that you're never a phone call away from disaster. And it's been on the front page of the Fuels podcast website for the last 4 years, is Nigel Bogle's quote, "I'm never more than 3 phone calls away from disaster." And I then followed that up with Mike Tyson's quote about everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Unexpected events are what drives new business. And these days, the savvy agency needs to be able to cope with unexpected events. And if I'm going to stretch that boxing analogy a little bit further and paraphrase Rocky, an agency needs to be able to take a few punches and still keep moving forwards. Punches like unexpected budget cuts. In 2023, according to Gartner, 71% of CMOs believe they lack the budget they need to execute their marketing strategy because money's tight. And when money's tight, spend gets focused just on the essentials, what you know works. Think about your own household spend. Think of all the cost, the rising cost of groceries and streaming services. And it's instinctive to cut back to the basics. And that means providing a safe pair of hands, knowing your subject, covering all the bases and doing the job well, reliably, on time and on budget. And that's going to help you win the client. So that's what this workshop is all about. We're going to develop some techniques to help you build a new business pipeline that's going to help you all sleep at night. And now I want to go through this exercise. The question that we asked you: what effect would winning more new business have on your agency in the short and long term? So let's just look at some of the responses that we got. Now, this is just a sample of what we have, and I mean, I love the fun response. I think that's a great way to reply to it. It's just full of mischief and entertainment. And these are just a sample, but fun fact, right? Nearly 70% of the replies we got cited team, staff, or company growth. So obviously, because you're all leaders, that's to be expected. But the one I want to focus on right now is the one on top right, optimism. The workshop's called The Art of Digging Ditches, and I didn't call it that because I'm trying to disparage the new business role. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a role that I've enjoyed and I've managed for over 35 years now. And my passion is to highlight just how vital new business is to any company's operation. It's the most basic function of a company. You can't survive without sales. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. It represents your future, your direction, your brand, your HR strategy, your hope. But don't just take my word for it. Here's Sir Anthony Hopkins giving a graduation speech in 2020 to explain what I mean.
To all you people all over the world, wherever you are, I know it's a tough one. I'm an old dude. I've been around for years. I live with optimism. But to all you guys, all you youngsters who feel thwarted and put down and hopeless, believe me one thing. I've read someone, I can't remember whether it was in the Old Testament or I think it was a shaman, maybe Carlos Castaneda, but the shaman said there was a drought. Cattle were dying, people were dying in a desert. And the shaman said, build the ditches, dig the ditches for the rain. And they said, there is no rain. Dig the ditches and the rain will come. Now you non-believers may say, oh, that's nonsense. Well, believe what you want. That's the rational mind. I don't think the rational mind is working too well at the moment. It's the irrational mind, the subconscious. And now I believe that we can condense time. We can pull it to ourselves. It's not about the future. Oh, I'm going to do something next year. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. The next hour does not exist. It's all potential. But what we can do is drag the time into the present, now, into the solar plexus of our soul. Build the ditches. Whatever you want to do, believe it, believe it, believe it, even if you don't believe. Play the game of belief. Act as if you believe. That is power. That is sheer power. And it will happen, believe you me, from an old fool like me. It's worked in my life, it will work in yours. So never give up. Believe, believe, believe.
Powerful stuff. Because as well as all the other wonderful definitions of new business that we saw up on those post-it notes, I'd like you to think of new business as hope. It's energy and it's motivation, and it's something that very rarely gets considered. Never underestimate the power of hope when it comes to company morale and future strategy. Anthony Hopkins brilliantly expressed the idea of bending time, because that's what new business does. It brings the future into the present. The potential of where an agency will be, what work it's going to be doing, as opposed to what work it's doing right now. And from an HR perspective, you're giving your team, present and future, a direction of travel that they can get behind and buy into. New business is building ditches. It's dragging the time into the present, using the irrational mind to change the rational mind. And it won't happen unless you want it to happen. Nothing happens until somebody sells something. I've done it myself loads of times. I mean, I've said, what's the point of speaking to that person or going to that meeting, or, it's probably just going to be a waste of time, because I was applying the rational mind and I was basically saying, it's not raining, it hasn't rained, so why am I digging a ditch? You have to create the mindset to make it rain. You can create the circumstances that allow opportunities to flourish and grow. Successful people, and we sometimes like to think that they're lucky, don't we? But they never seem to be short of new opportunities. And that's because they keep probing, investigating, and nurturing conversations and relationships that deliver opportunity. And there's a podcast I love to listen to called How I Built This, in which the host, Guy Raz, asks entrepreneurs to consider whether their success was a luck or skill or hard work or all of the above. And across nearly 200 shows, the average answer can be summarized as, I think we're lucky, but I think what amplifies that luck and what makes us successful is hard work. It's skill, resilience, and an appetite for risk taking. Now, in the case of this workshop, risk taking means going all in on new business. It means creating enough heat and light that new possibilities begin to emerge. And so let's look at this in real terms, not just in theory. I'm going to give you 3 examples from the agency world of people who I think practice healthy new business behavior. And the first one is about making new business a regular habit. I've worked for some great agencies in the past, and even their experienced leadership expected new revenue in the business within the first 2 months. But unless you've already got new business sitting there waiting to go, it's going to take around 6 to 9 months before new business matures. Now, I hope he won't mind me calling him this, but here's the very modest and incredibly pragmatic Adrian Marr of Fan Club PR explaining how he does it.
Discipline is one of the most important things. So personally, I have half a day a week, which probably isn't enough, just blocked out to do lead generation work. And that would be to both cold leads and existing leads as well. But I think the most important thing, which has been pretty transformational for us, is something I've only recently learned. And I've only really applied in the last month or so, and it's actually made a huge impact, is be realistic about who you want to go after. I think, in my previous lists of targets, dream clients, the big whales, I sat here in a board meeting and we were looking at, Adrian, who are you going after, and we're just reviewing the list. And one of our board advisors said, you've just been shortlisted for best boutique agency and best low budget campaign. Are these really the right targets for you to be going after? And you know what? He had a point.
Yeah. Now, the second example is a demonstration of looking for new business that fits the direction of travel of the agency, because taking detours to win new revenue now can sometimes take you into the weeds, and that's no real win at all. Nils Leonard of Uncommon explains here how he used new business and how he used to view it and how he's now altered his perceptions.
I remember being at Grey, and honestly, I was addicted to winning pitches. I was addicted to just winning, and I had a win-lose draw. Honestly, a hand-drawn. People who know me they'll be the proof to this. I had a win-lose draw thing under my desk with clients' names next to it that we pitched, and I would tick a win every time. I was like, yeah, we won them. Not thinking for a second, of course, about why we'd won them, whether we should have, what sort of work they were going to make with us, what they would say about Grey in the future. And it dawned on me that just trying to win in general is the industry's problem. And we would do anything at Grey to win those clients at that time. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, that's slightly broken, because what happens is you just want to win. And then they go, hey, so we'd like you to do this thing. And you realize it's not the thing you wish you could do every day. Right. So at Uncommon, we set out and we said, this is what we're going to be about. And we were lucky enough to make some of that work. And now every time we meet anybody, we say, why are you here? And if they say, well, I saw a bit of work of yours, or I saw the B&Q stuff, or I saw that H&M 1 second suit thing, they're on the right track because they know what it is we do. They know what we enjoy making. And so, of course, they come to us and ask for that. When they say they don't know why we're just on a list, we really don't tend to end up working with them. And what I've learned is we don't need to win clients that don't want to make what we make. In fact, it's not just about making great work. It's actually a distraction. If you spend 6 months working with a client you don't like, making work you're not going to respect, you've not only made a load of bad work, you've literally lost 6 months of your opportunity.
I love that. I think that's something that we all find ourselves getting into, is the idea of, you know, using new revenue, and that new revenue then turns into a bit of a sea anchor for us. The third example is about how we can empower every employee with the job of helping in new business, because it can actually help as part of your HR strategy. Now, Liam Keogh, who's the co-founder of Palm PR, was one of the most surprising guests on the podcast, because although he's brilliantly creative, he showed such a superb understanding of the need to be always on when it comes to new business.
The other thing is that we try as much as possible to give people the opportunity to decide the type of work that they do. We have a very grassroots approach to new business. So in most agencies, new business is often the domain of the very, very senior team, but we try very, very hard to get people of all levels, even right down to account executive, in the new business process, because we want people to say, right, my passion is to work with sustainable brands or plant-based brands or really, really big mega brands that I can tell my friends about and they'll be impressed by, whatever it is. And they can then go out and win with the new business team those types of clients. So essentially, they'll build a portfolio of clients that they want to represent themselves.
I just noticed listening to those back, I have a terrible habit of talking over guests when they're trying to say something profound. But so anyway, let's just go through the 6 takeaways that we can all implement today. Number 1, get the balance right, the balance between the colors and the numbers. It's not just enough to be creative. What you need these days is a balance of creativity and good business hygiene. Regular new business prospecting makes sure that you can keep the lights on today, next week, and next year. Number 2, become an expert in their field. You'll win new business by demonstrating you know what you're talking about and that you run a tight ship and that their money is going to be well spent. Number 3, dig the ditches. None of this is going to happen if you don't believe in the new business principle. You have to dig the ditches now. Digging them is going to make it rain. Number 4, schedule your new business activity. Make time for new business in your work. Get in shape so the exercise isn't painful every time that you do it. Number 5, new business is your agency's future direction. Base your new business and the creative that supports it on where you want to be in 3 to 5 years' time. Work with clients that are going to help you get there. And number 6, new business is a team sport. Make it a team sport. Your team's probably got some great ideas on the types of accounts they want to work on, and they may have people in their network that can help your new business. They don't need to be great salespeople. They just need to be willing to help you be a great salesperson. Successful companies are those in alignment with their audience and their team. And nothing happens until somebody sells something. Like I said, I'm going to follow up with an email to everyone with links to all the sources that I used, and there is actually a video of this presentation if anybody needs it. But there's 2 important sales messages of my own that I'd like to leave you with. Firstly, all of those 6 points can be applied if you use the Advertist as part of your new business prospecting. And if you want, I can tell you how to go about using it in your agency. Debbie has negotiated a fantastic discount for a year's subscription to the Advertist, and we also do offer monthly payments. Secondly, This workshop webinar is one of 3 that we're going to be delivering for the PRCA's Matchmaker service. And in the next one, we're going to go up a gear, and I can show you how you can implement advanced business development techniques such as referrals, prospect vetting, and aligning your corporate strategy with your business development strategy. Thank you for your time. I'm now going to hand you back to Debbie and we can take a few questions, but let's keep the conversation going. Always drop me an email. I'm happy to respond and I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Keith. So yeah, I hope that was useful for you all. Frustratingly, because we can't see you, if you've got a question, can you put it in the Q&A section on the screen? Daisy has a question, Keith. What ratio of cold outreach to business development do you recommend?
That's a very interesting, it's a great question. The general ratio, I mean, the way you have to bear it in mind is that between the 2 buckets that you have, the 2 pots that you have, your new business and your business development, the one that is easiest to do are the clients you already have that you can work on. So therefore that needs less energy than your new business prospecting. And if I'm going to use a rule of thumb, we can use the IPA's 60-40 rule. And basically that 60% of your effort can go into new business prospecting, cold new business prospecting, 40% into sort of business development work, so developing sort of existing clients.
I have a question.
Sure.
How do you see the new business landscape sort of has changed, is changing in 2024? What can agencies be doing to reach their target prospects in an innovative sort of way? And what are the trends going on in terms of outreach and standing out that you're coming across?
Yeah, I think number one, the first thing is we're going to get a lot more spam. There's going to be a lot more junk in the marketplace, a lot more because of the advent of things like AI. That you're going to get a lot of AI generated sales prospecting going on. And so there's going to be, we're going to have to address the fact that there's going to be a mountain of spurious claims being made. But I think the advantage here is the authenticity and sincerity, is the fact that if you know what you're talking about, you build your network up through LinkedIn so that you're not cold. You're actually, they know you, they know your name, you've become a thought leader. I think that's going to really help in being able to make you stand out from everybody else.
What is the best way of agencies reaching their targets nowadays? A mailing still the way? Is it LinkedIn? Is it via Insta? Is it events, networking? What kind of vibe do you get from all of those podcasts you've been doing?
Yes.
All that.
Yes, there is no one that seems to. You've got to pull all the levers all the time. I mean, this was a conversation that I had with a couple of business development people as well. Is the fact that where it used to be, everything was generated by email or everything was done through conferences and meetings and exhibitions. It's just a mixture of doing everything, and I think that's great, because it means that you're never stuck in one channel. You're always able to kind of vary. As long as you come up with the main pitch, then you can adapt it. It's just like a PR campaign. Any PR campaign, you come up with the main creative concept, and that can then manifest on social media. It can manifest as an exhibition or as a press release or as a webinar, whatever. The idea of vetting clients that are going to help you get to where you want to be, I think it's something that we're all afraid to do, because somebody's dangling revenue in front of you and saying you could win this pitch. There needs to be an element, a part of you that actually looks at it and says, is this the work that's really going to kind of make us famous? Is this the work that's really going to help us? Everybody needs to have those accounts as well. You need to have business in there that is providing the day-to-day revenue. That's fine. but you still need to have those flagship accounts or those other accounts that are going to take you off into the direction of travel that you want the agency to go.
I think as well, it might be worth mentioning now, Keith, what the second session. So we're looking at doing a series of these events.
Yes.
And as I say, we'll make sure the next one can be a bit more interactive so we can see you and you can
See
ask.
faces.
Yeah. So this isn't necessarily how we like doing it, but I think, do you want to just very briefly, Keith, let all know before we end what the next two sessions will kind of be?
Yes, I mean, we're going to be looking at prospect vetting. We'll be looking at how you can look at you can match your new business strategy with your actual business strategy, and we'll be looking at some basic technique or some good techniques that will help you translate a simple strategy or a simple core creative strategy, and you can have it expressed as an email, or you can have it expressed as a press release, or as a piece of thought leadership, or as a one sheet, all that kind of thing. How you can take one thing and multiply it across different things. Instead of doing 20 different pieces of outreach, do one thing and let it exist in different channels at the same time.
Great. Good. So hopefully the idea of this, I mean, you guys know everything already, really, new biz wise, but our intention with these sessions was, if you just go away with one little golden nugget or one idea or one thought that, you think, oh yeah, that's a good idea to bring back to the team. So that's the intention of these. We're not trying to sort of teach you because you know it all really already, but it's just some gentle reminders. So we'll close the session, but I'd like to thank you all for joining on this first event. And if you have any comments, all positive, please do share. But yeah, so and let's make it more interactive next time. And also, just so you know, on a matchmaker perspective, I'll be looking at doing sort of an annual face-to-face event for us all as well. Maybe we'll get Keith over. But thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to email me, drop me an email. I'm always available and I'm always happy to talk. But thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I do appreciate it. And it's been a blast. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for organising.
Thanks, Keith. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good day.